Right, welcome to Claypole's Garage. Right, today what we're going to do is we're going to take this 2004 Triumph Bonneville America tank that's perfect apart from that dent there, and what we're going to do is clean all that down, get all the paint off it, get it back to bare steel, and we're going to do an old technique called lead loading. And basically what that is instead of using car body filler, we'll be heating up the steel on the tank and we'll be using a bar of lead, and you heat it up to the point where the lead melts, floats in there, and you gradually build it up, and you smooth it all off with a wooden paddle and using tallow and tinning, and when it's done and all sanded down, it becomes part of the steel. And the good thing is with that, as opposed to using car body filler, is obviously in the summer months when you've got a full tank of petrol and obviously it's hot, so the gases inside will expand, the tank will expand slightly, and car body filler you could get cracking and separating, so you could end up with your paint flaking off, or as the steel expands obviously the car body filler won't, but if you do it this method it'll all expand at the same rate. So it does work, because I did it when I restored a 1966 MGB Roadster some years ago, and I used the same technique. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to make some noise and some mess with the grinder, get all that back round there, and we'll come back to it and show you what it looks like before we start floating the lead into it. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye. Right, okay, welcome back. So I've used an 80 grit pad in my grinder there, cleaned it all back to bare steel, right, and I've cleaned it off with some cellulose thinners so there's no grease on it at all. Obviously you have to go bigger than the damaged area, because the body guy will obviously need to feather it all out once he's done, and obviously you need a bit of room to feather it all out as well. Now this tank is not going to be badged, so on the Bonneville Americas you've got two holes, okay, which is where your badge, your Triumph badge, attaches to. Now these are, I don't know if you can see that, these are security bolts, and they are a T25, okay, and it's got that hole in the centre, so it's a T25, right, and obviously I'm going to be filling these, so this is one off my other bike just to test it, so taking that out. Now the pitch on that thread, right, is 0.8, okay, so if you've got one of these pitch thread finders, right, it's metric, and it's 0. It's that one actually, 0.8. Okay, so that matches the thread perfectly on that. So obviously then that gives you your tap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap both holes on both sides just to get the paint out, right, and obviously that will give me some bare metal then, so I can put some lead in those holes and fill them over nicely. Right, so I'll come back to you when I've done that. So just remember, T25 and a 0.8 pitch on the gauge there, 0.8. Okay, see you in a bit. Right then, so they're all cleaned and the holes are tapped out. I'm going to practice on these little holes first. Now the first process is called tinning. So what you do is you buy yourself a pot of lead tinning, okay, you've got to be very careful with this because it contains lead, and you're actually heating it up with a gas bottle, so it will give off fumes. So you need to make sure you got your doors open and everything. And basically what you do now is you take a brush and you dip it into your tinning like that, right, and you paint it on the surface of the metal. Okay, it doesn't matter if it goes in the hole, right, and this tinning acts as a flux and helps the lead flow and obviously adhere. Now the steel's been cleaned, it's been degreased. I've got a little bit in the thread because I want it to bond to the thread. And what happens is when you heat that up now, okay, when you heat that up, that'll bubble and melt and it'll change colour, right? And it's at that point that what you do is you start to introduce your lead, okay, your lead bar, and you just, it's a combination of heating the lead and heating the steel with your gun at the same time, so it melts, okay. Now obviously these lead sticks, they can oxidise, so what you want to do is just give them a scuff up with a wire brush, just to get all the old, you know, because I've probably been sitting on a shelf for like 2 years, 3 years. So you just want to give them a good clean up, give them a scuff off, or a bit of sandpaper or a wire brush, and just clean them up, okay. So once you've got the lead blob on there, you can leave it and sand it, right, but what you're supposed to do is you get what's called tallow, okay, and that's tallow, and it's a bit like an oil, it's a bit like a flux, okay. And this is a paddle, just a wooden paddle. I've just made this out of an old paintbrush and just shaped it. And what you do is, once you've got the blob on there and you want to shove it about a little bit and sort of flatten it down, right, you can't use anything metal because obviously the lead will stick to it, so you use like a wooden push stick with a bit of tallow on. The tallow stops the lead obviously sticking to the wood and just helps it, you know, smooth. It's like putting butter on hot toast, okay, so it'll melt and it'll help the knife spread about the toast, if you like, and should give it a relatively smooth finish. So I'm going to have a go at that then. I'm going to do these 2 holes first and then we'll see how we get on with that, just to make sure all this lot's, you know, working in conjunction with each other, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, there we go, that's the second side of the tank done. So all 4 holes now are filled, so now it's just a case of cleaning them up, getting the grinder on them to take out most of it, get a file on it, and then obviously start sanding it down with different grades of sandpaper and finishing it off with some wet and dry just to get it nice and smooth. Right, so now we'll have a go at the big ugly one now, which is that one. So I need to get set up for this one, so I'll turn the camera off for a bit and then we'll come back to that in a bit. Okay, so that's the first pour. So you'll see that what's happened is now I've cleaned it up with a wire brush, because obviously you get a bit of burning off the tinning, so you just keep cleaning that. Let it dry, obviously. Go hard, clean it off. Now there's like a puddle there, like a volcano crater. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a bit more meat around the outside of the dent to create a volcano crater that I can fill in and gradually build it up. And basically all I'm doing is it's a combination of heating up this lead here on the tank and the lead on the bar, and I'm just holding them close together like that, and I'm letting this lead just drip, right, and just keep working my way around in a spiral, right, until I get it past the height that I want. Right, there's a lot of sanding, you know, a lot of shaping and everything, but you want it a lot higher and you'll waste a lot of material. But yeah, you know, these are only like, I don't know, £8 a stick, something like that. So you build it up, keep puddling it and filling it like that until you get it a dome that you can work with, and then that's fine. Just let it cool down on its own. Don't force it to cool down, don't blow on it, don't put cold rag on it or anything like that, because you'll shock it. And at the moment it's bonded to the steel, which is what you want. You want it to be a permanent, like, weld, if you like, even though you can't weld the tanks because you'll blow straight away through. That's why there is another option that you could have done, was weld one of the panel pullers in the middle of it, and with a sliding hammer, and then pull it and pull it and pull it until the dent's, like, you know, virtually out. But the trouble is with that, you risk blowing through the thin steel on this, because I think it's only about, I don't know if it's 1.5, 2 mil, something like that. So they ain't very thick. You run the risk of blowing through it. So this is the best method. Right. So I'm going to start cleaning everything up, and then I'll show you again what it looks like once I've puddle welded that, and you can have a look. Okay. Okay, so I'll include you in this bit just so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. You don't need to heat all this up round the perimeter, just the crater, to the point where it changes colour. There's loads on that now. You want to get it just to the point before it starts becoming liquid, so you can move it about like that. Okay, so that's got a really nice dome on it now. It's a lot higher than the tank. Okay, and you just let it cool down now, probably take about 15-20 minutes, and then you come and give it a good wire brush. That'll clean any of the carbon off it or any muck or anything like that, and it'll be, you know, it'll turn dull, it won't be shiny. And then when you're at that stage, you can hit it with a flap disc or something, just to get a rough bit of a shape, and then obviously go at it with a foil and different grades of sandpaper, and that will get it down. So a couple of hours that'll be looking something like. It won't be quite ready for painting or for priming or anything like that, but you know, at least the dent will be gone. Alright then, so I'm going to crack on with that, and then I'll come back to you and you can have a look at it when it's like that. Okay, so that's after about 10 minutes of sanding, a little bit of grinding with that just to get the bulk off. Cleaned it up with a wire brush, use the foil so you can see the high spots, just gently, you ain't got to go mad. All you want to do is just sort of just go over it like that, try and follow the contours and you'll see where the high spots are. Okay, and then it's just a case of, you know, different grits, and that the lead is basically now part of the steel, so it's as strong and as sturdy as the actual steel itself, which means it won't crack. Now the good thing is with this technique is if you do get any little imperfections, little holes, little bits where, you know, you've sanded down but there's still a little bit of a low spot like there, I can feel it there, there's a little bit of a low spot there, and there's a couple of tiny little holes. What you can do is clean it up, just repeat the process, you know, a bit of heat, a couple of drops, let it get cold, sand it back, build it up, and that's basically it. So yeah, obviously the entire tank, when the painter gets it, he'll be putting his own very, very fine, I think it's called dolphin coat or something like that. It's like wet butter, and he'll just put a very, very light skim over everywhere where I've gone, because I'm leaving obviously the paint on for him because it's got the factory primer on it, the etch primer. So I'm just going to buff it up ready for him with an emery board or some of this 150 just to, you know, key it up. He'll blend all that in, and obviously, you know, put his own fine filler on it. But you're not having, like, you know, a quarter of an inch of body filler. That's the main thing. It's actually steel now. It's part of the tank, and as the tank expands and contracts in the summer, which it will do, especially when you've got a full tank in, none of this will crack. It'll be solid because it'll all expand at the same rate. And I'm really pleased with that. So I'm going to crack on, get them holes filled, get all these buffed off and sanded down, see how they look where the screw holes were, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all cleaned down and degreased and everything again. Okay, so that's basically the process. You know, it takes a bit of time, but you know, it's no different to using car body filler. It's just that you use a heat gun, you know, and your working time's a lot quicker with it, you know, a lot quicker with this stuff as it cools down and goes hard. Right, enough rambling, so I'll come back when I've cleaned all that off. Okay. Okay, right, I'm going to give you a look at it now. The holes in the side have filled really well. They're perfectly flat now, all four of them, and that is the dent. So I don't know if you can see the outline of where the lead is and where the edge of the dent was. Right, now there are two tiny little low spots. There's one there, and where was the other one? There, just there. Now if I keep adding lead to it, what's happening is all this will start to collapse, right, and flow away even though it's level. So I'm very happy with that. What I've done is I've gone over it with a file, and what the file does is if you run the file on the existing metal, the tin, the bit that's not dented, right, and you follow the contour like that, what'll happen is you'll actually see the high spots, right? Them are the bits that you obviously sand down, right, with a flat block. Okay, this is 150, this is 150 grit. Now I've got this as absolutely cock on as I can. I mean, that is a perfect profile there for what it should be. You can't feel, apart from that bit there and that bit there. So I have got some body filler, so I'm just going to put a little bit around here. I might just blast it all over and just give it another little light skim. But as I say, the holes themselves are really good. They've turned out brilliant. So I'll just put a little bit on there, knock it back, and then it'll be ready for the painter to get it into some primer, hopefully tomorrow, and just to, you know, protect it, and then that's it. Probably the next time you'll see it, it'll all be white. Okay, so I'll do another short video once I've done the filler, just so you can see it. But this is a brilliant technique, and as you can see, I mean, it's part of the metal, you know. It's a lot better than body filler. So there you go. I'll see you soon. Right, well, it's been a long day. That's all done now. That's all ready to go. So it's had a very, very fine layer of body filler just to get out all the little bits. Where's the hole? There. That was one of the holes, not that. That was one of the holes. That's where I've feathered it in with a bit of filler, and there. That one there. If you can see that. So it's all perfectly smooth. It's all been sanded back to 2000 on that area. So what I'll do is I'll just give it a flick over, blend these in a bit more, cut these back tomorrow with a bit of wet and dry, and clean it off, and it'll be ready for a primer, and the day after it'll blow over. So yeah, it should be nice. So that's basically your technique, guys. If you want to do a bit of lead loading, that's how you do it, or how not to do it. I don't know. Well, it's worked. So, but it's really smooth. Well, yeah, this is going to be a Remembrance Day themed bike, help for heroes, and ride to the war when it's done. This is obviously a spare set of tanks, a spare tank. I've got fenders coming as well, front and rear fenders to go on. If you can see it, my Bonneville there, Bonneville, America. It's already got tins on, so it's so I can swap them out. But yeah, I'm pleased with that. Looks nice. I think Franco will be happy, because it means he ain't got to do it. Right, I'll check in with you again, guys, and we've got a bit more progress. Cheers.